Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome back to my channel. If you're a returning viewer or subscriber, in today's video I'm filming another installment in my book haul series. This is basically just like a backlog of books that I have been collecting throughout the past few months. I filmed one of these after every kind of 15 books I've collected, and we've reached the next 15. I've got another 15 after this, and then I think things are really going to slow down. So currently I've been doing these monthly. I'm just trying to buy fewer books. The problem is that I buy a lot of books in the charity shop, and when I see them in the charity shop, they're there for a couple of pounds. I can't resist picking them up. So that's the dilemma I have. But I'm not going to the charity shop as much just because we've like knocked it out of our weekly routine. So I think that the book buying habit is gonna calm down a little bit. It'll be so ridiculously intense. So like I said, I've got 15 books to mention in this haul, or it should be 15 if I've counted correctly. Please don't keep track of it because I'm now like second guessing myself, and I'm pretty sure I didn't count correctly. I think I did. I don't know, whatever. Today's video is the book haul. You don't care how many books there are, you just want to see them all, so let's get into the video. So the first book I have to mention was one that I did get from the what the heck? I got from the charity shop. The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. I'm not sure whether my mum bought this or whether I bought this, but we basically bought it so that we could both read it because she's a huge Elena Ferrante fan, and I've been slowly collecting some of her books just out of frame. I've been wanting to read her work, and I trust my mum's judgment, and I trust other people like on Bookster and everything like that who have also read Ferrante and loved her work. This is about a woman who absolutely kind of spirals after she finds out that her husband is having an affair. So I think it's going to be quite heavy. I think she'll portray this in a really beautiful way that kind of captures kind of female rage that is like a bit of a trend within the book community at the moment. Although I think this book was published a little bit before that trend. Let's see, 2015. Yeah, it's a little bit before that time, but I still, you know, I think it's a good one. I don't know whether I'm going to get to this before or after her Neapolitan quartet, but we'll see. We'll see what I do. I was on my agent review with my friend a couple of months back, and I discovered that they have started doing books. They've started selling books, and it's just like simultaneously the absolute best thing that could have ever happened to me, and also the worst, because I love HMV. I'm always in there looking for vinyl in particular, and now they've got books. Like, nothing's stopping me. They're also on a deal where it's 2 for £7, which means it's £3.50 per book. Quick maths, I know. That's just insane to me. And I found 2 books I've been wanting to read for a very long time. The first one I absolutely freaked out when I saw, because I've been wanting to read this book for a specific reason, of which I will not share with you because it is actually a video idea. Do Andrew's Dream of Electric Sheep by Philippe. So this is the book that obviously inspired Blade Runner, as you can see from the title, the first Blade Runner film. I really love the Blade Runner films. I'd say the second one is actually my favourite. Don't kill me, cinephiles. I really enjoy the story, and I've always thought that the book would be super interesting because the film touches on some very kind of deep topics which I think could be further explored, not better, but like in a different way through the written word. It's a bit cringe that it's a movie cover, but I just think this art is so iconic anyways that I can put up with it a little bit. The other book that I saw in that trip was another one that I've been wanting to read for a very long time, and that is Goodbye to Berlin by Christopher Isherwood. I feel like I've mentioned this book already on this channel. I'm just like double checking I didn't actually haul this, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. This is set in between wars. It's set in the 1930s, which I've said before is an area of the world that I don't really know what was going on between the wars. I know a lot about what's going on in America, what's going on in the UK, but in Germany, the absolute chaos of having lost a war, and then they kind of build up into another war. Like, it's just something I'm not familiar with, so I'm kind of excited for the history of this book, as well as just the general, you know, like, the general, what am I trying to say? Frivolity that I can imagine this book contains, because it's just this absolute kind of like letting loose, as we've seen across other countries throughout the 1920s and 30s. And I always go on about this quote, but I do think it's fantastic, so I'm going to share it with you again in case you haven't already heard me talk about it. But this is a quote from The Guardian. It says, "Reading this novel is much like overhearing anecdotes in a crowded bar while history knocks impatiently at the windows." Fantastic. This is going to be such a good one. In the February half term, which is kind of like in the middle of the month of February, I went to Aldborough with Abby and her family and family friends and everything like that. It was really fun, little trip to the seaside. We stayed in the heart of Aldborough, and they had this adorable independent bookstore there, which is truly actually, like, if I had to think of my favorite independent bookstores, this is probably it, because it was just like everything I could have wanted and more. Kind of small, but they had such a good selection of books and so many things that I don't usually see in kind of chain bookstores. And so I found 2 books there. I could have got like a billion more, but I did have to show some self-restraint because I didn't have endless cash in the bank. So the first book I picked up was one that I've been wanting to read for a very long time, but a book that's kind of like a series of 3 companion novels, and they never have the first book in store. So when I saw it in store in the bookshop, I decided to pick it up. So that is Things I Don't Want to Know by Deborah Levy. So Deborah Levy is a writer, and this is kind of her memoir, particularly focusing on why she writes and what across her life has like influenced her to write. Things I Don't Want to Know is the first of Deborah Levy's essential 3-part living autobiography on writing and womanhood. I've heard so many good reviews. They're just short little books. It just sounds incredible. This bookstore also gave you a free bookmark with each book. They just know what they're doing. And look at this. this is the bookstore. I honestly would recommend it so much. I mean, I don't know which of my viewers lives in that part of the world, but if you do live not too far or you find yourself in the area, I would really recommend checking it out if you can get down there. I love this cobalt blue. I think it's the most beautiful colour, but beyond the cover and the beautiful still from Jean-Luc Godard's film, the contents of this book seems to be amazing, and it's one that I definitely want to get to as soon as possible. And then the second and final book that I bought in their bookstore was one that I've been wanting to read for a very long time, ever since I kind of found out that it existed, and that is Save Me the Waltz by Zelda Fitzgerald. So this is the one and only book that Zelda Fitzgerald wrote. The one and only book that Zelda can actually claim fully as her own. Take that with a grain of salt, because it is rumoured that parts of Zelda's work was put in her husband F. Scott Fitzgerald's work, and I've been really excited to read it, partly to compare her work with Fitzgerald's to see like any similarities or whatever, partly because I just get on really well with his work and it's the same era and it could be a new favourite. And I found this beautiful edition. This is the vintage classics one with this gold foiling on the front and the back. It's floppy, came with a free bookmark. What more do you want? Set in New York City, girl whose boyfriend whisks her away after the war ends on his quest to become a famous artist. They enter New York, high society, and it's about extravagant parties thrown by its members. Incredible. I just thought that maybe I should be stacking these books behind me like I did with the TBR video. Was it TBR? What did I just film? My mind. Seriously. I filmed a video recently and I stacked the books behind me and I really liked how it looked, so I'm gonna start that here. Right, so moving on, we have another charity shop book yet again. This is one I found in a charity shop in London. I just randomly stepped in there and I found a book that has been on my radar for a very long time and I just snatched it up immediately. It was a very exciting find. That's Eileen by Tessa moshfegh. So I have read one of her books so far. I read Labvona and I own My Year of Rest and Relaxation. Labvona was an interesting book to start with from her. I don't think that's probably one that people recommend you begin with, but I did really love how kind of straight to the point her writing was. I am excited to pick up My Year of Rest and Relaxation, but Eileen is a backlist title that I've seen various people I know read. Does this not have chapters? It kind of does. Okay. She loves not having chapters and it annoys me like a little bit. The Christmas season offers little cheer for Eileen. Trapped between caring for her alcoholic father and her job as a secretary at the boys' prison, she tempers her dreary days with dreams of escaping to the big city. In the meantime, her nights and weekends are filled with shoplifting and cleaning up her increasingly deranged father's messes. Deranged father's messes. When the beautiful, charismatic Rebecca St. John arrives at the scene, Eileen is enchanted, but soon Eileen's affection for Rebecca will pull her into a crime that far surpasses even her own wild imagination. So it's this woman, she's not doing too well, her life is quite depressing, she's probably depressed herself, and she meets and kind of is enamoured by a woman, so I think it's a bit sapphic, perhaps. Then things just get even worse. This is very ottessa, so it's probably going to be kind of slightly insane, but I'm excited for it. On literally a completely different note, we have It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. So this is the first Tessa Bailey book that I've ever picked up. She is a very popular author, popular romance author. I think I found this in the works. It was probably like £3. I've just heard a lot of good things. A summary book. I need more summary books on my TBR. I need more summary books available to me to read across the following months, and I'm just excited about it. So I think this follows a girl. She's very wealthy, she's kind of like a socialite, and her father, in order to kind of like whack her into shape a little bit, sends her off to stay in this kind of small seaside town. So she's very much out of her comfort zone, and while she's there she meets this guy called Brendan. That's a terrible name, I'm sorry, but like, okay. He's a fisherman, he's like very like grumpy and gruff, and he's a completely different personality from who she is, but there's some like attraction between them. It was a romance book with a cartoon cover, so I don't think anything bad was gonna happen. It sounds like a lot of fun and probably a break from some of the more kind of like modern classic stuff I will be reading across the next months. I love this colour theme. Isn't that so cute? So as you know, if you've watched my other book hauls, I do like to mention the books I bought via ebook, so on my Kindle specifically, because I think it's important to like promote all forms of reading. So I have a couple of those books to mention. The first of which is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I think that's what it's called. By Benjamin Alire. I'm not sure. It'll be on the screen. Yes. So this book was one that was huge several years ago when I joined the book community, like very early on. So this would be like 2015, 2016 time. I heard so many good things, particularly about the writing. I believe it's a relationship between these two boys, and I think it's gay, but I don't know whether it is or whether it like alludes to that. And it's like a coming of age story, so I think they're probably teenagers in it. But yeah, I've heard the writing is stunning. It's a really beautiful story, and it's probably gonna be a little bit sad. Like that's the kind of vibe I get. It's one I've been like umming and ahhing picking up for many years, literally ever since I heard about it. So when I saw it for 99p on the Kindle, like daily deals, picked it up. It sounds really good, and if I love it, then I'm sure I will buy myself a physical copy, because I would love to annotate all these beautiful quotes in real life. And then the only other book I have on Kindle in this haul, I believe, Mexican Gothic by Silvia moreno-garcia. This book is one I've actually already read, set in Mexico in the 1950s. The vibes were just immaculate, but I will mention it properly in my end of the month wrap up because I did read it at the beginning of this month. So the next book I have to mention is one that again I have already read, but it is a physical copy. Again, I got it from the charity shop, so I paid a couple of pounds for it, and it's one that had been on my TBR for a very long time, so I decided to pick it up whenever I saw it. Lie With Me by Philippe Besson. This book is a French translated modern classic. I'm not sure whether it's a modern classic, but I think it will become a classic because it was a hugely influential, like, best-selling book within France, and it's kind of spilled over into other countries and people enjoying it with the translation. It is translated by Molly Ringwald, who, can we just say, is literally stunning. Like, look at this woman. She's beautiful. Like, sir, I'm sure you are too, but like, okay. So I read this book in this month. Again, I'm not going to go into massive depth, but we follow a boy in his youth, and we also follow him as a man, kind of looking back on this experience he had in his youth of being in a relationship, or not a relationship, having a relationship with another boy who was at his school. And it is a heartbreaking book. There's like a tone to it and an atmosphere that's very melancholy, and I found it quite a difficult book to read. I think it's important that it was written, and I think if you can handle it, it is a very kind of like insightful, beautifully written, valuable story. Look at this. This is truly the most beautiful thing I've seen. I think I'm gonna have to take an Instagram picture. We're about to ruin the good vibes and the stack in terms of the colour theme with the next book I have to mention here, but that is King of Scars by leigh Bardugo. So I legitimately cannot tell you basically anything about this book because it is a series directly follows the Six of Crows series. So you have to have read both the Shadow and Bone trilogy as well as the Six of Crows duology in order to get to this book. I can't tell you who the King of Scars is, I can't tell you the characters in this book because it spoils major plot points throughout both Six of Crows and the Grisha trilogy. This is a book that I was never sure I was going to pick up. It hasn't got brilliant reviews, but it was £3 in the works and my bestie was buying it, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So we might buddy read it. It's a very long book. It's like 500 pages, and I think it's a little bit boring in parts, which just breaks my heart, but whatever. I guess I do want to read this. I do love the characters in the Six of Crows duology particularly, and there's a few of them in this, so it could be good. It's a beautiful cover, but I'm heartbroken that's going to ruin this stack. Actually, you know what? Tessa Bailey's name is written in gold, so it does kind of tie in, but you know. So we have yet more charity shop books to mention. In fact, this book is, the next book is, then we're done. First book I found in a little charity shop that I don't go to too often, but when I go there I do pretty much always find something sunny. It's in the town where I went to uni, and I was back there because my mum was meeting a friend, and I decided to go around and look at the charity shops while she was there. Why is there a hair in my eye? I don't know why I needed that huge backstory. So this book is called Blackbird Singing, and it is Paul McCartney's Poems and Lyrics from 1965 to 1999. So it is literally all the songs that he wrote, like for himself and for the Beatles, as well as the poems he wrote, just written out. Basically, it's as if you've gone on Genius and you've looked up the Yellow Submarine, and then this is what you get. My favourite Beatle is George, but what can you do? I'm joking. But Paul's probably my second favourite, and he did write some fantastic songs. So I'm really excited to read this little collection and kind of annotate each each piece of writing as I go along. Apparently this book is really rare, it's really hard to buy. I think it was a really cool find, something I don't think I would have found elsewhere, so I'm really thankful to have found that in the charity shop. The final book I found in the charity shop is more of kind of like a coffee table book, so it's a little bit different from the other ones I've been mentioning, but it is again by a music artist, and I freaked out when I saw it. Patti Smith, American Artist by Frank Stefanko, I'm not sure. This guy was a photographer, and he basically compiled all of his photographs, all his favourite photographs of Patti Smith into this book. So it has text accompanying it, but it's pretty much just like a photo book. So there is like a little bit of text, like I said, and then they're all just black and white photographs, like incredible. I really like Patti Smith as a person. I haven't read any of her novels yet, but I do own Just Kids. I also own like the magazine that Vanity Fair did with her on the cover, and she's an icon, she's a legend, and I'm really thankful to own this book. The next two books I have to mention, and the final two books I have to mention this haul, are ones that I bought with a book voucher from Blackwell's. They're both ones that I've been wanting to read for a while, and I was very excited to pick them up and get them in the mail. They're both beautiful editions as well. So first of all is a Penguin Modern classic. I love these books so much. So this one is Despair by Vladimir Nabakov. So Nabakov is the author who of course wrote Lolita. I read Lolita when I was 18, so several years ago now, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was beautifully written, it explored some incredibly difficult but important themes, and I would honestly fight Nabokov's case to my death, because the girls who get it, they get it, the girls who don't. It's a masterpiece in my opinion. I've always wanted to read more of his work. I want to read Despair for a video. Again, I'm going to keep my lips sealed because I don't want to spoil what the video is. It sounds kind of harrowing but very interesting. It's about a man who is convinced that he has found his doppelganger, and he uses this discovery to weave a money-making plan that leads to disguise, betrayal, and eventually murder. It's going to be a journey, but I think it should be quite a fun one. I'm sure it will be beautifully written, the same as Lolita was. I would like to have read probably all of Nabokov's work I stopped writing in my life. And then the next and final book I have to mention in this video is Simple Passion by Annie Ernaux. This book is one that I've already read and I loved it. It was a 5-star read for me. I will link the wrap up where I talked about this book in it. No, I'll link the wrap up where I talked about this book. I'll link the wrap up video where I mention this book, where I go into depth on my thoughts on it, because I won't go into a lot here. This is a kind of a fusion of fiction and non-fiction, recounting an affair that Ernaux had when she was younger. We're looking back on it, so it's kind of very fragmented, but it's also so kind of immediate and very beautifully written. Some of the lines just like struck me in the heart and then just like nestled there and have stayed with me. It touches on a kind of very difficult topic for me, but I did really enjoy my time reading it a lot. It's a tiny little book, and I actually have another book by Ernaux in the mail on its way to me because I'm so excited to read more of her work, because like I said, this was a 5-star and this was my first book by her. Stay tuned for my next haul if you want to see what other book from her that I picked up. This is a beautiful Fitzgerald edition, little independent publisher based in London. I think they're immaculate and they feel so beautifully made as well. There's the fingers crossed 15 books that I've managed to acquire within the past few months. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, because that's how I can tell you liked what you saw, to know to do more of these in the future. If you've read any of these books and you want to let me know what you think about them, which ones you think I should prioritize, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, because I have so many books to read and no idea where to start. That's all. I'll hopefully see you on Wednesday for a new video, but until then, have a lovely rest of your day, rest of your weekend, and I'll be back soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.